Like, I mean, I remember funny things. Do you remember when we had when I got the German girl to write the letter to Chanty in German about the bus driver being gay? Do you remember that one?
No, tell me. Tell that story.
Right, right. Basically, when the tour we did with Chip Hawks, because that was the first time we met Steve Chant, and then we nicked him for our crew. But if you remember, we went off to do these shows, and the driver was a bit light in the loafers. Um, I'll tell you when it was. It was the one when we ended up in the forest on the last day, and we got held up for like 4 hours in a big, massive accident. And it was like touch and go if we're going to make the gig even. But it was one of the nights I got one of the German fans to write in German to Steve, "Dear Steve, being a homosexual, I can always tell other homosexuals. So, and I know you are one. And if you'd like to come to my room for a cup of coffee, feel free anytime. Lots of love, the bus driver." And I got it, and I put it under his door. I put it under his door. And if you remember, he used to come back from the gig and go straight for a shower before he come to the bar. We'd always go straight into the bar and tell him to shower. And he came down, and the best thing was the girl who wrote it was sitting at a table, but he gave it to another girl at another table, another German fan, and said, "What does this say?" And she started reading it and started laughing. And he starts pacing up and down the bar. And then when she told him, he went to his room and never came down the rest. And we had to tell him the next day it was us that did it. he thought he, he thought the bus driver was after him. Because I mean, Chanty was gullible. He really was. He was fucking so gullible.
I'll, I'll never forget when we crossed that bridge, and you said bridge over the River Kwai, and Steve said,
Yeah.
"Is it?"
Right. Now, you see, you just jogged my memory. Do you know where that was? That was the night we crossed from Estonia to St. Petersburg.
There
And
you
I
go. Go on.
and that's where I said, "That's the bridge over the River Kwai." And Chanty said, "Oh, it's here. I always wondered where that was." That was that night. Because that's where the border was, at the fucking bridge.
I'll never forget. That was such a classic line,
Yeah.
Steve.
But that's how gullible he was. Because there was another night we were going into a village. Because if you remember, we used to travel after the show when we were with Chip Hawks. And I think you might have been in the crew van with the boys then. But we were coming into the village, and as you come into the village, you could see the fucking bright green light of the gas station. And Ted, Chip Talks' guitar player, he nudged me and he said, "I think I've been here before, Don. I'm pretty sure there's a BP station as you come into this village." And Chanty's sitting up front beside the driver on his feet going, "There it is! There it is! Get right." And we were going, I mean, even people at the back of the bus could see the green BP station. The lights were all fucking on. It was like a bleachy beacon. And that's how gullible Steve was. But yeah, as soon as you said that, the bridge over the River Kwai was the night we went from Tallinn to St. Petersburg. And that was the bridge at the border going into Russia. So
Do you remember?
Joe, I'm trying to think when Joe went and Maxie came in. I'm pretty sure it was Joe was on the Ukraine trip, wasn't he?
Yeah, Joe was on. Joe was at very early stuff.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
God, the first job I remember, I can't remember the name of the band that he was working for, but I'd only just passed my test, my driving test, and he asked me to come and help him drive and do monitors for this band around Germany. And I
Yeah.
got in one of the bandwidth splitter buses, which was an LT 55, wasn't it? With a
Yeah, I
voice
remember
box
them, the
on the
big
back.
square ones, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd never driven anything but a little sunny Datsun before in my life, and the clipping all the roundabouts as I get there. So going over to Germany, it was fine. He got me to drive at night, and it was just straight motorway, so I
Yeah.
didn't really have to do anything. But unbelievable. The moment you come home and you get to the English roads again, it's like, Jesus Christ, this is a truck.
Yeah,
That was
exactly,
really
yeah.
scary with Joe. Same with Sullen, wasn't it? When we were out with Sullen, and you said actually they actually want more than just a sound engineer. They want someone that's going to do all the backline as well. And I said,
Yeah.
nah, I know how to do it.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
they wanted me to manage them in the end, and I fucking that was a mistake. But as far as
they
I'm
could have
concerned,
been a really good band, but he had such a shit attitude, man.
well,
That
he did.
that lead singer was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
fucking weird.
yeah, he did.
Apparently, he walked into the rehearsal studio when they got the deal. He walked into the rehearsal. Drummer told me this. He said he walked into the rehearsal studio. He put a gun down on the table, and he said, "Right." He said, "We do things my fucking way now."
Well, they didn't last very long. I
No.
got them a production deal of 25 grand, and he didn't want to pay me, and I went, I see ya.
Look what happened to A. You know, they went massive, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh
A,
yeah.
who was supporting them. Because
Yeah.
when we went out to Maribel, do you remember when we went out to Maribel to the
Oh fucking
it's a snowboard
yeah.
thing,
When they robbed all
and it
that
was
stuff.
happening. Well, it was further up the mountain, wasn't it? They
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
the ski competition was further up the mountain because there wasn't enough snow in Maribel, and they wouldn't give us ski passes to go and
Yeah. Well,
watch it.
we did well. Well, A played
And
that night.
so,
We didn't play in the end.
I think the boys then kind of walked into the one of the offices there, and where all the competition prizes were, all the SWAT watches were, and there was nobody in the room, and they were really, really annoyed about not being given any passes and being just told to fuck off. That I think there was a few swiped, because I remember the guys getting on the
quite
bus
a few.
saying
The drummer swiped fucking loads of stuff. If you remember, A actually ended up playing. We didn't play because it was too late. I said, no, we got to go. Because I think we were doing a gig in Hastings the next day.
That's right. And it wasn't even a PA system, was it? It was a few of those little box speakers all dotted around the place. It was like I walked in and went, oh!
Yeah, but ever since then, I've had this total hate of crusties, skateboarders, surfers, and fucking, all these fucking idiots sliding down a mountain on 2 pieces of wood, because it was just, they asked us to go all the way to Mirabel. We spent a fortune on that fucking bus for 2 drivers, and we didn't even get to play because they couldn't get their shit together.
Yeah, and we couldn't even get to see the competition.
Yeah, exactly. So, but not that I wanted to see it. I hated snow anyway. It wasn't ever for me. But yeah, A went on to bigger things. I don't know what they're doing now, of course.
I ended up working with A and being their one-man band.
Okay.
And the big A, we were great. We supported the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
As well.
Great.
Sex Pistols did a return, and A came in and did that one gig. It's funny. We saw Johnny in the lift. And I think the boys asked for a photograph, and he went, "No, fuck off."
You see, I met him. He was a really nice guy. I met him at Milan about 5 years ago. I was with a band called Sum 41, and just as we finished, a fucking storm hit the arena in Milan. It was an outdoor arena. And he didn't get to fucking play. He was going nuts. The show got pulled because he was on next, but obviously everybody ran for cover when the storm hit. Yeah, Mr. Lydon, fucking hellfire.
Oh, it was funny, but that was funny actually because that gig was really shit. It sounded too good, or they could all play, and the sound was just perfect. So it was like and you thought it's a bit wrong.
Yeah, it's not right.
It's just it's not right.
It's no right.
I got to say, and don't spit. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, that's you invented that.
Yeah.
I remember in 89 we were on tour with Magnum, and somebody was spitting. Magnum was a heavy metal band from Birmingham, and they were spitting at the. We did the Avenue Leisure Centre in Belfast, which wasn't built when I lived there. And people were spitting in the audience, and we went, "You're about fucking 10 years too late." They did that in the Sex Pistols in the 78, 79 shit. It's like fucking 80s. It's nearly 1990 now. Why you starting to spit now? Belfast were always slightly behind everybody else. Get out and
I mean,
sit and talk about certain nights. I mean, do you remember? Okay, here's a classic. Do you remember the night where another chanty classic? fucking Bob, what's his name? Bob Skelton or Ted Skelton, the drummer, Chip Hawks' drummer, right? Ted said to me, um, just say to Steve Chant, I believe fucking Skelton's sister's a dancer in the West End show. See if we can get some free tickets when we get back from tour. And that's all he said to me. And I went, okay, no problem. So I said to fucking Steve Chant one day, I said, and I think we were in that hotel in Berlin. Do you remember where Chris got sick? It was a big giant horseshoe fucking table. We could sit about 20 people at it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I said to Chanty in the afternoon, apparently Skelton's sister's a dancer in the West End show. You know, ask him about it, see if we can get some fucking free tickets. Well, they never told me what was coming next. They just, and so I just set it up. But apparently Chanty came in one that night, went over to the bar and shouted over to Skelton, hey, I believe your sister's a dancer in the West End show. Can we get some free tickets? The next thing, Skelton climbed across the table crying and ran out the door. And Steve went, fuck's wrong with him? Ted looked at him and he went, his sister lost her fucking leg in a car crash 3 months ago, you arsehole. And Chanty collapsed on the floor in mortification. Skelton's outside laughing his arse off at the state of Steve. Steve's on the floor at the bar crying, going, what have I said? What have I done? What have I said? What have I
done? I think my favourite one was the Chip Hawks when we what was his guitar? Gus, wasn't it? It was his guitarist.
Ted, Telecaster Ted.
Telecaster Ted, that's right. And Chip Hawks would always name drop when he was standing at the bar. And we'd all said that every time he name drops, we'll all stamp our feet. Every time he drops a name.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one.
And there must have been 10 of us doing it around him. It was the funniest thing.
There was another night because again Chip Hawks was gullible. I was ripping the shit out of him one night in a hotel, and Ted looked at me and went, "Oh, you?" And I thought he was serious. I went, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" He said, "Do you know who he used to be?"
No, do you know who he thinks he used to be?
No, yeah, you know who he thinks he used to be. And of course, him and Lynn got it on, didn't they? Well, Lynn got it on with a lot of people, but yeah. What was the other? Was another one? Oh yeah, that was the other one. I said to him one day, we were in sound check, and I went, "That's a nice song." He said, "Yeah." He said, "My daughter wrote that." I said, "Oh, you sung a song last night." And I started whistling. He went, "Oh, Chesney wrote that." I went, "Fuck me, what's it like to be the only man in your family with no talent?" He didn't think that was funny. When you were talking about the Compass with Dave, that was the night we played Ilford, and we were at the Camden Forum the next night on the Christmas tour, and we were staying in the Holiday Inn at Swiss Cottage. And on the way in, I was driving the car, and the fucking road was closed, and there was a fire. And the police just said, "You're going that way." And we'd had a couple of lines of chaz anyway. And I'm literally driving up the road before sat-navs. I'm going, I have no idea where the fuck we're going, guys. And I don't even know why. Here's the weird thing, because I always drove JJ and Paul. Bill always drove John and fucking and Dave. Why I was driving the car that night, I don't remember. That sticks to my mind.
It was probably just to and from the hotel.
No, because we did the gig in Ilford. You guys were still doing the loadout. We were, and then you were coming to stay in the hotel, and the truck was going to the Forum. It was a tour we were on at Christmas, and the last show was the Forum, and that was the night where fucking Paul threw the rat into the audience when Trevor had done Anthony and Cleopatra on the keyboard setup, and Paul threw the fucking rat in, and Dave was chasing him around the backstage with the mic stand, going to kill him. That was the two. Those two nights ran in connection. So we did Ilford, and then we went straight back to the hotel after the gig, because we always did a runner anyway. And we were staying at thing. And there was a fire somewhere in the fucking East End of London, which I didn't know. I didn't know the East End at all. And that was when Dave fucking, all of a sudden, this voice, "Well, Don, you're actually heading north and you need to be heading west." And I looked in the mirror. He's got a fucking compass in his hand. Where the fuck did you get a compass at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Out of the magic bag. That was the games we used to play with that bag. You'd be sitting in the back lounge, and it was like, oh, has anyone got a nail file? I don't suppose anyone's got a nail file. I mean, yeah, they would say, "I've got one."
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
And he used to guard that bag with his life. He used to guard that bag with his life. But I remember do you remember the French tour? The tour I resigned from Jamiroquai to do with the Stranglers was the one we did 2 nights in Rennes, and on the second night we put up the no smoking signs because of fucking Jet. And one guy in the front row lit a cigarette and Paul took it off him. And nobody else in the rest of the club. Because Bill said to me, we need to put these signs up. And I went, not going to happen. This is France, Bill. You're putting a no smoking sign up in a gig in France. You think people are going to take any notice? And we literally wrote on it, if you fucking smoke, Jet Black will probably die at the drum kit and there'll be no gig anyway. So, and everybody I couldn't believe that everybody took notice of it. And
I had to get on stage and play a gig with them at festival because Jet had left his inhaler back at the hotel. Yeah. And he blamed the crew for hiding his inhaler when he was on the stage. And it must be somewhere underneath the drum riser if we haven't hidden it. And he's not going back on the stage until he gets his inhaler. And we're like, we haven't stolen your inhaler. You know, so we're scrounging around looking for it. And he's refused to come on stage. And Paul comes on stage, starts off by looking at the audience and saying, is there a drummer? Looks over at me and says, Dan, what songs do you know? And I went, Strange Little Girl and Always the Sun. and Davey Fee is sticking drumsticks up the back of my arsehole between my arse and the seat as I'm trying to play the kit to put me off. I'm like, wait, it's hard enough as it is.
Now, there's another name. He was brought in backline first with Chris. Bill brought him in. I got him a hotel bedroom in Berlin, and I said to him, right, we drunk the skunks. We'd been on the Prince all afternoon as well. And I said, okay, right, now, just you and me in the room. Tell me, why don't you like me? He said, what, you don't know? I said, no, that's why I'm asking you. He said, well, you're a Protestant. I said, you're a fucking jock. What's it going to do with you? He said, Don, religion is worse in my country than it ever was in yours. And but Davey and I always work together. I don't know what sort of state Bruce is in, or if he can, because he'd have some fucking great memories. I mean, again, like you were talking about the night in Berlin with the fucking pigeon. Well, I can remember that.
Beauties.
Yeah, I can remember that
with Bruce.
Yeah. Was, when he puked on the pigeon. And I said,
start that one from the beginning.
Right. Okay. Well, basically, Chris got sick, right? And we were staying in this weird hotel right outside of the fucking northwest of Berlin. And it was the early days after the wall had come down. And we decided we wanted to go and get something in the city, which I knew where to get. So you, me, Bruce, and Max Bisgrove headed off in the crew van. And Bruce and I went to the apartment to get what we were getting and tried it when we were there. And as we came out, Bruce said to me, I don't feel well. I said, well, don't puke in front of me. Go in that shop doorway there. And he walked in, and as he puked, this pigeon came out covered in sick. Right? And the pigeon, he was so quick when he did it, the pigeon didn't even have time to fly away. And as the pigeon came out shaking sick off, I went, fuck, I don't remember you eating that. And well, the next thing, he's trying to be sick and laugh at the same time and on the floor. And you must be looking in the mirror of the van, because the next thing, you and Maxie came running up the street thinking somebody was attacking us. And there's Bruce on the fucking ground, puking and laughing, and the pigeon's still standing there covered in crap. It just came out of my mouth. I don't remember eating that.
It was so perfect it happened. I'll never ever forget that line. It was just, but that was it. Yeah, but that's it, isn't it? The memories get jogged from those little things that happened and those people that died there, and But the ones with Bruce, we used a good cider guide once. Me, Trevor, and Bruce. We had to do a gig in Cornwall, and we decided that the only map we would use to get there from Bruce's house was the Good Cider Guide from about 1969.
Yeah.
Right? And the only map it was a dot and a squiggly line and another dot. So there would be one town, squiggly line, and then another town name, right? And so we crossed 2 estuaries and the sea to wade out to these, only to find that they now served only Strongbow.
Oh dear, dear. Oh,
And
oh. What was that other chain? There was a chain of real ill pubs when we were on the Steve Coogan tour. Him and Ian Wheaton and Tony Harper, they do the same thing. We literally go to these places for lunch. It was like what was it called? It was like a real ale, a bit like cider, but same thing. But they literally had the same thing. They had the guide. So every time we went to a city where there was one, that's where they go for lunch. And then I'll tell you another classic. Bruce was so dry. We were doing the Oxford Apollo, Steve Coogan, and we went over and we were having a pint. And Bruce come running in breathless at about 7 minutes past 11. Went straight up to the bar one and said, "Look, I'm really sorry, I'm late." And it was just the way he was so dry. The barman's looking at him going, "The fuck are you on about?" I know you've been open seven. I know you've been open 7 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm late. And he was very, very dry like that, Bruce. I think he was fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Bruce
Lovely
is
man.
brilliant.
Uh,
Yeah,
and I remember walking. I remember walking onto the Stranglers bus when I first started with the Stranglers. The first gig I ever did was Dundee Caird Hall. My first job, I drove the back line truck before I started helping Bill. And I remember walking onto the bus in the morning at load in, and you guys had stood all the way from where the production rehearsals used to be in Hatfield. Was it the town
yes,
hall?
that's right.
Yeah. And you guys had fucking had a delivery and stood the whole way to fucking Dundee, and you could tell whose bunk was what by which bottle of booze was outside it. The Stranglers is the only band I ever worked with where the crew had a bigger rider than the band and a better
Well,
one.
we used to just before the tour started, we used to pile round to Roger's cider farm,
Yeah,
in just outside of Bath there, and he only sold it in like 5 gallon jugs
yeah,
of the stuff, and used to go and we'd just bring these 5 gallon jugs and just like literally load up them underneath of the bus with Roger's cider,
yeah,
and this stuff was fucking lethal. We went there first, before on the Good Cider Guide. That was our first stop,
yeah,
and we pull up, and Bruce drove us there, and he was doing the first part of the drive, and then I was going to take over when they hit the limit, if you like.
yeah,
And so we walk into Roger's cider farm, and it's literally this cow shed, and you go in there, and it's got this sign with members bar written above the top, right? And you walk in there, and there is this like table trough in the corner with a whole load of old boots in it, stacked up, piled up. And the idea is you can walk in there, and if you see a pair better than the ones you're wearing,
you can take them.
you trade them, yeah.
I'll have them.
Anyway, you weren't allowed to technically drink on site because it wasn't a licensed bar.
Of course,
But
yeah.
you could have a little taster, and so he takes you round to the vats at the back, and he gets you a little quarter pint glass, and he pours this one in there. He goes, "Here," he says, "try some of that." And you say, "Oh, hello, oh, that's nice. That looks nice, Roger." Take a couple of sips, and you're like, "Oh yeah, what percentage is that then?" He says, "I don't know." He says, 8, 9, 10, 11. You tell me. And then so you just, "Oh boy, we'll have like 5 gallons of that
Yeah, we'll
and
have a
10 gallons of that
well,
stuff." And it would just sit there, but because you wouldn't drink it all on the first night, it would start to ming after about a week.
yeah,
It would
yeah.
really start to ming, and obviously they had gut rot. Everyone would do, Trevor and all. I don't know how they could handle it. I could only handle it on the first day it was poured out, but
Yeah,
they were
after
drinking
that.
this stuff, and it was proper scrumpy,
I,
and it
I, I
was
find I
just
find it difficult. I like a drink, but I find it difficult how you get keeping up with fucking Sil and Bruce and that.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much for this little test.
No,
Anyway, as well.
I want to get the stories out there. The ones that I can't be sued on. So because obviously we need to be careful what we say about who we say.
Yeah,
I mean, we all know
exactly.
it's fucking true, but some people just don't like the truth.
No, Mortlake to Mandela really is as it says. I was born in Mortlake, and
Yeah.
as I journeyed up, I've had some bizarre experiences, and I've met some
Oh,
amazing
Fucking,
people,
I,
including
I,
Nelson Mandela.
yeah,
You know,
I was blessed by Desmond Tutu once at the Terry Wogan show with a band that we were playing. Desmond Tutu was again. So yeah, I know what you mean. We've had a great fucking career. You know,
oh shit.
we've got paid to go. I mean, I cannot stand being where I am because of where I've been. I mean, I sit and listen to these guys talk about their normal day, and I'm thinking, my God, you guys have never ever lived. We're in a different country every day of the fucking week. You know, we have no idea what day it is because we don't get the Saturday fucking Monday morning blues because every day's like a Saturday to us because of the gig.
Nice one, Don. It's been really
All
good to
right.
catch up with you anyway.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Danny.